Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Boris Eykher on the line, and he's CEO and founder over at Open Mineral. And today's interview is part of our Milk and Global Conference series, where we interview individuals that attended the Milk and Global Conference in Beverly Hills, California. We interview speakers, we interview the panelists, and the VIPs. So first off, Boris, welcome to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Adam. It's a real pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
All right, Boris. So I definitely want to get into what you're doing over at Open Mineral and talk about trading critical minerals and securing and trading critical minerals. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the Milk and Global Conference. I understand you're part of the Chairman's Circle, and then also you attended this year. So maybe talk a little bit about your experience with the conference.
Yes, I was a panelist at LA's Milken's event, Global Conference. Amazing event. I want to say huge kudos to the organizers of Milken's events because they are able to bring a great quality of people together and to have candid, real conversation with the real call for action. So, majority of the global conferences tend to have a lot of the people saying correct phrases that we have heard thousands of times that mean absolutely nothing. And the difference is at Milken's, a significant percentage of the people, I would say absolute majority, comes from the business side. And so the conversation actually becomes, how can we improve something? How can we do something better? It's super challenging. It's not about the beautiful story. None of the simple, easy, beautiful words solve them. It's about actually facing real problems and calling things what they are. And that's what I love. I love about Milken. It's very, very pragmatic approach. And of course, Milken was able to build up an amazing network throughout his career, where he's super well respected in the financial and the business community. So the caliber of people that you have participating at the events is just unparalleled. Just to give you an example, right? I still have not posted the picture where I had the Elon Musk literally speaking 1 meter away from me, right?
Wow.
And nowhere else you would have that, right? Or you're approaching the VIP guys, the head of the World Bank, right, who casually stopped by our desk after his speech to catch up with somebody and stay for 15-minute conversation, right? You just don't have it anywhere else. So it's amazing the quality. And of course, because you have people of that quality, they actually speak, they're surrounded by business community. So they speak much more about pragmatic solutions. And, they're being very, very modest, right? You're sitting there, you realize what a difference, how successful they are. There is no question about that, right? And they have humility. They speak about their errors, what they tried, what failed, and it's just a real candid, normal conversation. So that's super, super impressive, and amazing kudos to the whole team for putting that together.
Part of the Chairman's Circle you mentioned when we were warming up for this interview. What is that all about? Talk a little bit about that.
Basically, on top of the global events that take place, in Singapore, Los Angeles, Abu Dhabi, a couple other places around the world, there are also some smaller private events and where the members frequently host at their houses, small get-togethers. And so the conversation is as candid as it basically gets, right? Because in the setting of their private house, people get together to really solve issues. They have no reason. They're super successful. They have nothing to gain. They actually want to have the basically community help organizing solving the biggest issue. So depending on what they're trying, what they are passionate about, it's about the business issues that come up. It's about the longevity. It's about the health. For example, cancer is always one of the big topics, education, doing the real initiatives to help other people as well. So what people are really, really passionate about, they get together and invite people who might have similar ideas or have similar passion and in combining efforts, basically.
I want to switch up the topic a bit here, Boris. Let's get into what you're doing over at Open Mineral. So maybe start off by telling us a little bit more about the company and what you do.
Sure. What we are is a basically commodity trading platform. So we have created IT solution for trading mineral raw materials. So once we built it up, we actually learned that the platform, how we envisioned that originally, was not working. So we failed at our first approach but we knew the market is highly inefficient, right? And we were
Hmm.
trying to understand what the participants from the industry are used to receiving. It's not just the IT solution that you need. They are used to receiving from the traders financing, the
Hmm.
risk management, and easy logistics solution where the trader is basically handling everything. And so what we added on top of our platform is the full trading service. So
Mm.
you can think about that in two different ways. You can think as the 21st century that is using all the IT possible in order to make things more efficient, or as a platform with the full physical trading service in order to solve all the issues and have one-stop solution for the miners and the smelters.
Mm. So how long have you been in this space, by the way? I'm just curious. How long have you been in the space?
After business school, I was with Glencore for 8 years, and
Hmm.
now for more than 8 years with Open Mineral. So
Wow.
16 years in there, and prior to that, I was in private equity.
Wow. So, and I asked that for some context just because we hear a lot about, mineral independence or critical mineral independence. What's your views on that? Like what has to be done to achieve that?
It's a great question, right? And coming back to the conferences, or
Hmm.
if you read the articles, a lot of the governments around the world are trying to solve it by introducing some kind of tariffs. What they
Hmm.
do not understand is what is being produced at the end is basically a commodity. And if the
Mm.
commodity somewhere else around the world is much cheaper, that it does not matter all the barriers that you are going to put or any on any particular country, they'll still slip in one way or another. And so if you are
Mm.
producing at much higher cost, you're just not competitive in the long run under all
Hmm.
circumstances. Something will change in the policy, people will adapt, will move the material with their countries and so on. So the way to think about that is you actually have to be able to secure the raw materials.
Mm.
Basically, what the game is about is who has access to the raw materials so they could produce things more efficiently. And if they do not have the access to the raw materials and are able to secure them, then they have to secure the refined metals and have stockpiles in the country if they want to have the security for their production.
Mm. And so what can this look like? Like if somebody's creating a policy or strategy, like what
Uh,
kind of things are you seeing that could be effective, let's say?
Of course. So instead of actually wasting money on the tariffs where you do not achieve much, right? You're just increasing the prices internally, right? And by
Mm-hmm.
that, you're trying to make your industry competitive, but it's not going to be competitive because for example, Chinese are producing at absolutely huge volume. So you're not comparable on the unit cost, and it's not possible to achieve that. What is
Mm-hmm.
much more intelligent way? Address the issues that the miners have around the world. So, for example,
Mm.
where majority of the production is going to be coming? Of course, from emerging markets, right? There is
Mm-hmm.
no a new copper mine that is going to be located in New York City, right?
Yeah.
They don't exist. Anything
Yeah.
that was simple to extract in the good jurisdictions, or of course, has been extracted by that point.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
what do you end up with? More complex mines in harder jurisdictions around the world, right? A lot of them are small, medium size guys. So, for example, DRC has one of the largest copper mines that recently came online.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's super hard to get any financing flowing. It's super hard to get the financing for the development of the mine and to move the materials across the world because there are a lot of perceived and real risk that exist in Africa. So what is the easiest way to do that? Is actually help the guys on the ground build up or secure and move the materials around the world. That way you secure the raw materials that is necessary for your economy and you help the
Mm-hmm.
emerging markets to develop that. And this becomes you are being part of the whole economic ecosystem. So you're fully with the market prices. So the change in the policy does not affect you. You're
Mm-hmm.
actually becoming the part owner of the either of the mine or the offtake for many years, securing the raw
Mm-hmm.
materials.
Mm. Switching focus slightly here with the time we have here, I'm curious about how technology plays a part in this, specifically AI, machine learning. Like, because I think traditionally commodity trading is considered a pretty traditional industry. So how does like hey AI and machine learning, like how does that play into this equation?
Absolutely. So when we are trying to come up with the set of tools to help miners be more efficient, one of the things that we were providing them from the start is ability to hedge the prices. So that way they can lock up the prices, that basically de-risking the project or de-risking the trade or making sure that their budget is being fulfilled, right? Whatever the goal that they have. And of course, everybody was always asking, what do you expect of the price to be? And very, very hard to predict the price, right? If we
Yeah.
were that intelligent, we would not be doing
That would be
anything else, right?
yeah.
And so we were constantly trying to think about with all the data that we have, right? Because of the fact that we have a digital DNA, right? We started as a platform. We collected the biggest data lake in the industry, but we were constantly asking ourselves, what is the edge? How
Mm,
can we help people and ourselves make better decisions,
yeah.
right? And so instead of, at the beginning, we were a little bit naive or too ambitious, maybe a better way to say it, where we were trying to ask the questions, how can technology solve everything? And then
Mm,
we changed that and just started asking, can technology help solve part of the issue? And so
mm,
the way we are using the machine learning is actually fascinating. We started first with the correlations. Does the price depend on some other variable? For example, if the Federal Reserve releases more liquidity into the system, how does that mean that metal prices
hmm.
or commodity prices overall will go up? And so we started running with multiple different hypotheses. And then what machine learning is basically allowing you to do is combine a lot of those different signals, we call them alphas, into the portfolio predicting the metal prices. And
Mm,
so once you start running those machine learning models with many hundreds, thousands of signals, it's actually phenomenal good. It beats every single person I have seen, including
mm,
our head of hedging, myself, and so on, because the system can take into account so many more variables, and each
yeah.
one of them is small, but as a combination, of course, it's remarkably better than any one of us on the team in predicting the price. And so we're sharing there with the producers, right, in being able to take a slightly better position and being slightly more
Hmm.
right than the average. And that's a huge comparative edge. Same thing on AI. Instead of just saying how does LLM help in the real world, right? It's super hard to find those solutions. But we started basically optimizing first. How can AI help us make slightly better decisions? For example,
Mm,
what customers to focus on,
yeah.
right? So we're running multiple parameters on what to focus, or how can we make certain operations more efficient for
Mm,
ourselves and the counterparty by sharing the data, by combining the data? How can we predict what is the most likely result that will come out of that based
hmm.
on the whole history that we have? How can we help sign the contract and put together the contract in a more efficient way by basically first picking up all the details from the previous contracts between these
Hmm.
counterparties, and then also giving the most useful suggestions that add the most value to the contract, and so on and so on. So basically, we are constantly asking ourselves the question, can technology give a small edge? None
Mm,
of that changes the game, but cumulatively, it creates a significant edge.
yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And that, like I liked how the way that you worded that to say that like all of these little things like added up become a big thing. Like, like these little pieces that become part of a competitive advantage for the producers and otherwise, like that's a big deal. And that,
I'll tell you the funny story. We basically, I've been running Open Mineral for 2 years, and
hmm.
one of the established trader came at one of the conferences, introduced himself, said, I've
Yeah.
been watching you for 2 years. You were supposed to be dead a year ago. You're still alive.
Oh
You must
man,
be doing something right. Tell me exactly what do you do?
come on. Oh man, that's a good story. I love it. Well, Boris, I'll tell you, it's been great having you on the show today and just learning more about what you're doing at Open Mineral and, of course, all the great work you're doing with the Milken Institute and being a participant and part of the community. So appreciate that. If somebody's listening or watching this and if they want to follow up, if they want to learn more about Open Mineral or follow your work, how do they do that? Hmm.
www.openmineral.com. And we have all the information there, guys. And happy to catch up with anybody who's interested in our space or having some security over critical minerals going
Yeah.
forward.
Amazing. And for everybody watching, just so you know, we'll definitely put the links in the show notes so you can just click on the link and head right on over and check out Open Mineral. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Boris, thanks again for coming on, man.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Adam, for having me.